Yes, Mom. Yeah, I know. Yeah, listen, Mom. Yeah, I know. Listen, I'm in the middle of shooting a video right now. I can talk. Yeah, I'll call you back. All right, thanks. Bye-bye. Hey, what's up? It's Martin with analogvibes. Welcome back to another Build Your Legend series. And this time I'll cover everything you need to know about a very famous passive tube equalizer. And more importantly, how you can build one yourself. So those who've been around for a while and are already part of the analogvibes community and followed the last Build Your Legend series, this is all old news to you. But for those who are new, yes, you heard right. We built our own studio classics. And yes, I also want to take the time to introduce myself real quick. My name is Martin Zobel, and I'm a musician, songwriter, and producer based in southern Germany. And in a nutshell, I started out, working all in the box because that's all I had and that's all I knew. Using many of the digital emulations of classic studio gear, because that was all I could afford, and the marketing said it's just like the real deal. But after having the chance to record an album with my band in a mostly analog studio in Los Angeles, where the real hardware was available, I realized in an instant what a huge difference it was working with the hardware in terms of sound, in terms of haptics, in terms of the way of creating music, and I was hooked. So yeah, when I came back, I figured that's the way I want to make music again, because it's such a difference, whether I go through like various drop-down menus and trying to find a plugin in the list of a bunch of plugins, or if I can close my eyes, and get an idea of the sound and then grab a knob and turn it, and I have instant feedback. Huge difference. So yes, I wanted to work the same way, and that was an obvious problem, like I couldn't afford to buy a vintage Pultec EQP-1A for 8K used. So I figured I have to do it all from scratch. The internet has it all available, and I spent years of research on all these pieces of gear, how they work, what are the myths behind them, what are the facts, and everything. And I built one piece after another for my own studio first. But after posting some of the stuff on the internet, I got lots of requests from all over the world, and that was actually the starting point for analogvibes. And yes, the thing is that it's not only about providing the knowledge to build these pieces of gear yourself, but also to get a solid understanding of how they actually work. Because from a musician's or engineer's point of perspective, I think it's really, really important to know what the gear does to the sound. So, and I figured if I can translate the stuff that is hard to get, that is hard to understand, like the schematics and all the technical stuff, into something that is easily accessible, that would be it. Because building the stuff is not a rocket science, It's just about getting the guides or, like a little help, so it's easier to access and easier to understand. So that's what analogvibes is all about. So now that you are on board, let me show you our object of desire for this Build Your Legend series. And I already made a little video where I introduced the Pultec EQP-1A equalizer. So let's take a look. Some say it's the holy grail of tube equalizers. I happen to have one here. So this is it. Oh, it's heavy. Here it is, the Pultec EQP-1A, introduced back in 1951 by Ollie Summerland and Gene Chang with Pulse Techniques. It's a passive equalizer, so it means there is a passive filter circuit which causes a loss in gain, and this loss is made up by a tube amp. So the core element of this equalizer is the filter unit on the back here, housed in these little boxes. It's essentially a network of capacitors and a filter coil, and depending on the frequency I select here with these switches in the front, a certain capacitor is connected to a tap of the filter coil. Again, this is simplified a bit, but I think that's okay. What an awesome piece of gear, right? But before I tell you a little more about how it does its magic and how it actually works, let's take a quick listen to how it sounds and what it does. Did you hear it? Now let me know in the comment sections below what you heard and how you liked it.
Are you kidding me? It sounds amazing.
Now let's have a closer look at how it does its magic. Before we get started, in order to not stretch out the video any longer than necessary, I will only touch on certain parts of the circuit in this video and explain them. But I also created an e-paper with 8 pages of everything you need to know about the magic of the Pultec EQP-1A. And you can download it right below the video and get all the information you need. So let's start. Coming from the input, the signal goes directly to the input transformer, onto the filter circuit, and from there onto the interstage transformer before it finally hits the amp section. So if we take a closer look, we can see that the passive filter unit, which is drawn as a little box in this diagram, because it actually is a separate box mounted to the back of the main unit, is sitting between 2 transformers. The reason for this is, in order for the filter unit to work properly and sound amazing, it expects a certain load on input and output. We're talking impedance here. So the transformers make sure these conditions are met. Beyond that, while the filter circuit needs an unbalanced signal, the amp section later on expects a balanced signal, and the interstage transformer converts the signal from unbalanced to balanced. Last thing here is, as we can see, we lose about 20 dB of gain in the filter circuit. Why is that? The working principle of a passive filter EQ is that the entire signal has to be attenuated on the input, so that if we want to boost a certain frequency later on, it's actually only a matter of which frequencies are attenuated less than the rest, so in turn appear as a boost. Of course, we have an overall loss in gain here. That's why we need the amp section later. As I already mentioned, all of this information you can find in a lot more detail in the e-paper below, so I really recommend you check it out. Right, moving on to the amp circuit. The first thing the signal hits is the 12AX7 tube, and it finally helps us to bring back the 20 dB of gain we lost in the filter circuit. But as you can see, the signal is still a little bit shaky, distortion might occur, and the overall frequency response is not perfect. So in a negative feedback amplifier, which this design is, we need a second tube stage. And in this case, it's the 12AU7 tube. But it didn't come alone, it brought its homie, the big ass peerless output transformer, which is kind of the notorious BIG of output transformers. And through a hidden third winding, it sends negative feedback to the 12AX7 and controls it, so the 12AX7 has a hell of a lot of respect, and it does everything it possibly can to deliver nothing but pristine signal. And that again is why the Pultec EQP-1A sounds so amazing. Earlier on, I told you that most of the magic of the Pultec EQP-1A is actually happening inside of the filter unit. But how does it work? Like, what makes for this massive low end and these incredibly sweet highs?
Are you kidding?
Sorry. Of course, there's much more to it, but I don't want to bore the hell out of you in this video, and it's already much longer than I intended. So you'll find the filter circuit explained in every single detail in the e-paper as well. Now, I can imagine you have a ton of questions about building such a piece of gear, and that's why a couple of days ago I sent out a few questions to the analogvibes community through our newsletter and the Facebook group, so I can make sure I can cover as much as possible in terms of possible reasons or obstacles you see, why you might have concerns getting your hands on analog gear DIY style. And if you're new here, I posted the questions below the video, so you are very welcome to answer them in the comments. And for the feedback I already got from the analogvibes community, folks, I have to say I'm completely blown away. I would have never expected that. So many emails came back, very, very valuable, important, and detailed information. And so far, the major concerns that I see were first, safety. Obviously, we work with 2 peers, high voltages are involved, I totally get it. Second, skills and tools that are necessary, like do I think I'm capable of pulling it off? And yeah, third, parts. Where to get them, how to get them, do they still exist anyway, and how to find good replacements, etc. Fourth, troubleshooting. What if the piece of gear that I built doesn't work properly? Folks, believe me, I totally hear you. I've been through all of that. Holy shit! What the? For now, let me assure you that by the end of this Build Your Legend series, I will not only have these concerns addressed, but also hopefully in a way you will go like, whoa, okay, all right. What I'd like to address directly though is number 3, parts. So you don't have to worry about it anymore. I think it's no surprise anymore by now that with this Build Your Legend series, we try to take it to the next level, offering the first complete analogvibes kit. Meaning you will not only get the already known high quality chassis, but also every single component you need to build a high quality, authentic, passive tube program equalizer. Yeah, I spent like, I think around 1 year of searching, researching and testing. Lots of love for detail in there to remain as authentic as ever possible. Some parts are custom made, as already mentioned. And you can imagine how excited I am to finally get it out there. So here is a little preview and the details of the kit, what it will cost, and how we can manage to make it happen together. I will tell you in the next video.